Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show how to create this piece. This is a piece that was sent to me by a subscriber who has to do it for a CAD class they have. Um, so I'm going to make a nice video for them, and I'll touch on it when I get into it, but I can see exactly why they're a little confused by it. But if you ever want to send me a request for something to create a video of, it's not a problem. Whenever I have time, I'll make one for you. It's just mrmezcad@gmail.com. Okay, so I'm going to move this to the side. I can look at it the whole time. Actually, I'll bring it back for a second. So to me, if I'm looking at this piece like on a design and drawing side of it, the things that jump out to me is this is kind of like a linkage system, it kind of looks like. It might just be a piece that someone made some crazy shapes to give an exercise to. But this is based off of what I usually try and do is find like the origin or where we're going to start from. So we could start from a couple different spots. We could start from here, or we could start from the center of this larger circle. This is probably what the whole thing's based on for the pivot. So I guess we'll start from the end over here, but just understand you can start from really anywhere. It's just going to be easier to follow dimensions this way. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to start a new drawing. And when I start that new drawing, I'm going to get this create a new drawing pop-up, which is important because this is clearly in metric. It's either in metric or it is a absolutely massive piece because 40 inches would be almost 4 feet. But 40 millimeters is less than 2 inches. So if you don't have this, here's how you get to it. Okay, so the first thing would be you type in, open up a AutoCAD document and type in startup and hit enter, and then make sure your startup is on 1. If it's on 0, when you go to start a new drawing, it pops up with this template version. So just type startup, type in 1, hit enter. And then there's other ways you can do this too, but this is just a really easy way to make a metric drawing. So you hit new, pick metric, hit OK. Now we have a drawing that's in metric. Okay, so I'm going to turn my grid on, and I'm going to create my first piece just to get everything in perspective as to what my scale is. Okay, so we'll start with, like I said, the circles on the side. So I'm going to start with a circle. I'm going to type C. I'm going to hit enter, or you could go up and click circle. I'm going to start at 0, 0 and hit enter. So now my circle is going to start at my origin. And the radius of the larger part of that circle, because I'm just going to focus on the larger part for now, is 30. All right, looks like my scale is pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is just create lines that locate points where my next circles are. Okay, and then I can worry about everything in relation to those circles afterwards. So I'm going to create a line. I'm going to type L. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to start from 0, 0 and hit enter. And now I can do a couple different things. Okay, so the next circle is 100 millimeters to the right. I could either type in a command. I'll do it 2 different ways. So like a real easy way is you could put on ortho down here and then just move to the right and type in 100 and hit enter. And now I have that line 100 away. And then the other thing I'm going to have to do is I'm now going to have to create a line that goes up at an angle. I'll turn my ortho off, but this line is going to go up at an angle to the next one. So let's see if we have some information for that. And this brings me to my next point. So not picking on any other CAD instructors, but this is a really common thing that happens whenever I help somebody with CAD drawings or with CAD programming, is that it's very easy to look online and find a picture of something that you can create, right? But as a good instructor, if you want to make sure that your students can succeed, you need to actually look at well, if you can actually make the thing. So like for anything that I find, I actually create it, and many times I create it with my videos. And if I find that there's missing dimensions, I add them in. In this scenario, there are a lot of missing dimensions. For example, I don't have an angle here for what angle this is at. I can assume it's 45 degrees because it kind of looks like that, but anyone who, properly runs CAD understands you're not supposed to assume anything. Okay, if a machinist assumes that something's at 45 degrees and I just forgot to put a dimension of 50 degrees in there, well, now all of a sudden my part doesn't work and I wasted tons of money making this thing. The other thing is we can assume, again, that maybe this same circle is also 100 away, but there's no dimension saying that. Okay, and we could have avoided that very easily by just going 2 times. Okay, so already this instructor is setting up their, I don't know how you grade somebody when you don't give them enough information to actually create something. The other thing that I did notice as well, which we'll get to, there's no dimension for the diameter that these circles are on. Okay, I can figure out the angles because they look equally spaced, but there's nothing indicating that there are. There's nothing even indicating that these are all the same size. Again, assuming. Okay, and I have a gentleman I used to work with who's a brilliant, brilliant guy, and he used to say that assuming does something to you and me, makes you and me look like something, and that's why I don't like to assume things. Okay, so it is important if you're an instructor watching this video and figuring out how to lay out your curriculum, I'm always happy to help anyone with that, but you have to understand that you need to understand how to make things and that you can make things that you give to your students 10 times or more than they do, okay, or that they need to. All right, so I'm going to assume things. I'm going to say that I'm going to assume that these are 100 millimeters apart, and I'm going to assume that it's at 45 degrees. I don't like it, but I'm going to do it. So I'm going to type in, I'm going to hold shift, I'm going to type at, I'm going to let go of shift, I'm going to type 100 for my length. I'm going to hold shift, I'm going to put in this little Pac-Man symbol, and you can actually see it next to the 47 right now. Okay, I call it Pac-Man. I know it's a less than sign. I'm going to let go of shift, and I'm going to type 45 degrees. I'm going to hit enter. And now that brings me to my next spot. Okay, so now I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to get out of here, and now I'm going to start putting in those other circles. Okay, so I'm going to go C, enter. This circle here says it has a 50 millimeter radius. I'm going to hit spacebar to go back into circle. I'm going to click. This one has a diameter of 50, so I'm going to say it's a radius of 25. And now I have my 3 locations for my circles. Okay. Now while I'm here, I might as well put in the other 3 circles that go in here. So I'm going to say like this one here, this smaller one over here, and then this smaller one up here. Okay. Just because, while I'm at it, before I put in the other stuff. So C, enter. I'm going to start right here. Now I can just snap to the centers. I don't really need these lines, but I'll erase them when I'm done. So the center point of this circle is going to be 0, 0. And the radius of that, well, the diameter is 30, so the radius is 15. Spacebar. I click here. The radius of this one is 40. That one will take a little bit of work to get as well, because we have a whole bunch of missing dimensions there as well. And then I'm going to hit spacebar. I'm going to click up here, and this is a radius of 10, and that puts that there. Okay, so now I'm going to hit escape a couple times, and I'm going to erase by typing E and hitting enter these 2 lines, because now my circles are in the right location. Okay, and I just have had my origin selected, set unselected. All right, so now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to worry about all this funky stuff that's happening inside here. I'm going to put in these tangent radii in here because I know the dimensions of these. This one's 60. I'm going to assume this one's 60 as well. I don't know why it wouldn't be. But again, why not just have a 2 times in front of here? It takes 2 seconds in MS Paint to do that. So I feel bad for this person who sent me this. I'm not going to use their name because I didn't ask them ahead of time. But I feel bad for them because, this is tough. I understand why you're struggling here. And if a student came up to me and said, hey, Mr. Mez, project is missing some dimensions, I'd say, oh, whoa, sorry, my mistake. You know, nothing wrong with being wrong. Everybody's wrong. And then I would go through and adjust it and wonder why I didn't make it myself. Okay, so we're going to create these with tangent, tangent, radius arcs. Okay, so I'm going to go to circle, hit the down arrow, tangent, tangent, radius. And what I like to do, my recommendation that I tell my students is try to pick right around where the tangent point is, which is the point where you see it blend in seamlessly to the other arc. Okay, so this one's like in the, and I'm saying quadrant wise, so imagine there's like a line down here that splits this into 4 quadrants. This one's right here. This one's right here. We can see this is like the upper left quadrant, upper right quadrant. Okay, so I'm going to come back to here. I'm going to pick in the upper left or upper right quadrant, the upper left quadrant, and I'm going to say it's a radius of 40. There we go. I hit spacebar again. Oop. Oh, can't hit spacebar. Got to pick tangent, radius, circle. I'm going to pick lower right quadrant, lower left quadrant, 40 again. Same thing again up here. And what I'm talking about is like you don't want to pick like over here if I know that the tangent point is more over here. Okay, it takes a little bit of thought. All right, I get it. People can get results by just clicking around on CAD stuff. But if we want to do it right, got to take a little bit of time to think and plan. Okay, so this one's around here. This one's around like, that one's kind of tough to judge. Somewhere around here, 60. And if I'd gotten a weird result, I would have tried to pick better. So, and just undone it. So this one's around here. This one's probably going to be somewhere in here. And again, 60. Okay, so now I've got these. So now I'm going to type TR for trim, and I'm going to hit enter. And just to save time, I'm going to hit all to select everything to use to trim, and then I'm going to hit enter again. So now I'm just going to work my way from the outside in. I'm going to go outside, get rid of these, get rid of these, get rid of these. There's one side. Get rid of this, get rid of this, hit escape. Now I've got my general shape. Okay, now we can worry about the crazy stuff that's happening in here. Now again, we're missing dimensions. Okay, I cannot assume if I'm really designing, if I'm a quality machinist and I'm making this part for you, I cannot assume that, for example, the dimension from here to here is the same width as from here to here. Okay, it looks like it. It probably is. However, as I would tell anyone in my manufacturing department at any engineering firm I've ever worked at, I would say, look, if I don't have a dimension for you, come ask me, okay? Because who knows, maybe it's not the difference of 10 that these radii have. Maybe it's 11, maybe it's 12, who knows? Whatever my FEA guy might have changed it to, okay? But we're going to assume, because we've already talked about it, we're going to have to, okay? So first thing I would like to do is I want to create this profile with this arc that goes around here. And the way I'm going to do that is by finding the center of this and putting in this circle. Okay, so I'm going to create a line, L, enter. I'm going to hover over my circle for a second to get my object snap to pop up. If yours doesn't pop up, object snaps right down here, or you can hit F3. All right, so I'm going to click here, and I'm going to turn on my ortho to save myself a little time, and I'm going to say those are 20 away. Okay, hit escape. The end of this line is now where that circle goes. I'm going to go C, enter. I'm going to pick here the radius of that circle. Not sure why it's a radius. If it's over 180 degrees, we have to make it a diameter, but the radius of that circle on the drawing is 22. Okay, and then again, we have another problem here. This distance in here is definitely not the same as this. Okay, I'm going to assume it's half. All right, but again, missing more dimensions. I mean, if we go down this thing, we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, there's at least 10 dimensions missing from this part. All right, but we're going to make it as best we can the way it looks. Okay, please don't go to your professor and say, well, this guy on the internet said that you Didn't give me all the dimensions, but it is kind of important to have everything, okay? So I have my circle in here. I'm also going to create a second circle that it has a radius that's 5 larger. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to make this 27. Okay. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to hit E, enter, get rid of this line, hit enter. And then I'm going to create some lines that I know are going to be long enough to do some trimming. Okay. So I'm going to go L, enter. I'm going to hover over this circle. I'm going to make a line that goes from there at least long enough to go through this next circle. And I'm going to hit escape. And I'm going to hit O and hit enter. And my offset is going to be 5. Because like we said, we're going to assume it's the same width as this, which is 10. So I'm going to go offset up, 5 that way. Offset down, 5 that way. And then I'm going to hit escape. And then now I'm going to erase one line, E, enter, get rid of this line, hit enter. And now I've got a whole bunch of trimming to do. So I'm going to go TR, enter, and I'm just going to draw a box to get all this. Hit enter again, and now I'm going to go through methodically and trim this. So I'm going to trim these off. I'm going to trim that away. I'm going to trim away this. I'm going to trim away this. I'm going to trim away these ends. Let's see what else we need to get away. Oh, actually, you know what? Control Z a few times. I got a little carried away. I want to keep that circle. So I got to trim these away. I got to trim these away. Let's see what else we have. We need to get rid of this. Need to get rid of that. Need to get rid of that. Need to get rid of that. Okay, now we're starting to get somewhere. Now I'm going to hit escape. Okay, and now we have the general shape, but we're missing the radii in the middle. Okay, or another word for those are fillets. So I'm going to hit F and hit enter. Okay, to go into the fillet command, you see down here, radius, all right, is R. So I'm going to hit R, hit enter. And do they give us those radii? They do not. So we found more dimensions we're missing. So I'm going to make a wild guess and say that the radius is 5, and we're going to see what it looks like. I'm going to 5, hit enter. That is too much. Okay, so I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to go fillet, F, enter. And I'm going to go R, enter. And let's try a radius of, I don't know, 2. Hit enter. Pick these 2 lines. That looks a little closer. Really tough. Maybe it's 2.5. We'll hit escape. F, enter. R, enter. 2.5. Let's try that. That looks pretty close to what they have. Okay, so now that I got it to work, I'm going to go F, enter, and I'm going to type M for multiple, because I want to put in multiple radius at a time. So M, enter, and now I can go around and just do this. Put those together, put these together, put these together, put these ones, and that one. Okay, now the last thing I have is that circle pattern. Now again, we can see there's no diameter here. So I'm going to use my best judgment, which may or may not be right. And I'm going to say that these are, let's see, maybe about the same width as that. So 5 from there, which means if this is 22, this is 22, then we need to take away 5. That brings us to 17. If the radius of these are 4, that brings us to about 13. I don't know. Let's try a 13 diameter. We'll see. I'm really thinking out loud here, folks. So let's go L, enter. We'll start from the middle, click, and we'll go over 13. We'll see where that brings us to. Hit escape, circle, enter, C, enter, click. Radius is 4. That looks pretty good, actually. I bet it is about 13. It's a little off, but it is what it is. I mean, we can try making that line a little longer. Maybe it's 14. does look a tiny bit off. Let's try 14. Circle. Radius of 4. That's pretty close. You don't have the dimension. I don't know how you can lose points for that. So we'll get rid of that line. And now I'll show you one other trick. It's called array. A-R-R-A-Y. We'll hit enter. Okay, we're going to pick this circle. We're going to hit enter. And we're going to say we want a polar array, which is a round circular pattern. Boom. Specify the center point. We're going to hover over the circle. We're going to pick the center point. And then actually the default I have here is 6, but if you want to change it, you can change the items to any number you want. It could be 10, it could be 4. Okay, so this is just an equally spaced pattern. Okay, and then I'm going to say, show up my 6, there you go. I'm going to hit close array, and now I'm done with the part. Okay, so as I said, this may or may not be right, but you're missing a whole lot of dimensions here. This will at least get you to the point where it shows that you know how to make a part like this, which as a teacher or instructor or professor, that's the goal. Okay, do you know how to do it? If a dimension here or there is wrong, it's just a matter of changing a dimension. Okay, hope this helps. Good luck.